I am so excited. I feel very blessed to be here today opening up for AJ's 2025 Clean Biz Conference. My name is Carolyn Arellano. For those of you who have not met me before, I am a cleaning business owner. I have been in the industry for a little bit over 6 years now, which is completely surreal for me because in that amount of time, I went from not knowing a goddamn thing about business, cleaning, making a life for myself, to now speaking on this stage. So for me, this is really a full circle moment. And something that I really wanted to open up this event with is a very important topic that really helped me catapult my career in the cleaning industry and really helped me just grow overall as a person. And the topic that I did want to talk to you guys about today is rewiring the mindset that you were born into. So, something that I do want to talk about, and this is kind of going to be my topic, is about a paradigm shift. So before I got into business, I had no idea what a paradigm was. I had no idea that I had a pre-notion set of thinking that I was raised with and born with. So pretty much, you guys, a paradigm is a mental program that is made up of all of your beliefs. Most paradigms are inherited, they're not chosen, and they control how you view yourself, your money, work, and success. Now, a paradigm, as I mentioned, this can be pretty much how we're raised, right? And the things that we're told as children, the things that we are told and then we kind of hold on to and carry throughout our lives. So if you don't have a positive paradigm, and if you didn't come from a solid upbringing and people constantly telling you that you can be what you want to be, you can be successful, then it's very hard to even get into the mindset of being an entrepreneur and even believing that you're successful, right? Because it all starts with our mindset. And something that I want to share with you guys today is a little bit about how my paradigm used to be. So I, unfortunately, was not raised in a loving household. I was not raised in a supportive household. I was mostly raised in chaos, survival, and pretty much just trying to figure out how I was going to feed my brothers and sisters and get to the next day. And, that was pretty much the paradigm that I grew up in. Single family household. My mother had a lot of mental illness that she still struggles with. I had to raise all of my siblings. So pretty much I didn't really have a chance to be a kid or, learn how to just be a regular human being. I was always survival mode, trying to figure out, how I can keep my family together and just keep things moving. I wasn't raised by entrepreneurs, not like the entrepreneurs in this room anyway, who form LLCs and pays their taxes, right? I was raised in the streets because my mom was always working 2 jobs. And that's pretty much, where I ended up, unfortunately, living in a low-income neighborhood. So I was raised by hustlers, drug dealers, people just trying to make a buck, right? I was an entrepreneur, but I wasn't an entrepreneur in the right mindset. So these are some of the common paradigms that we inherit throughout life. And a lot of us aren't even aware that we have these preset notions in our heads, that we have these self-limiting beliefs. And some of these that I want to discuss, and I'm sure a few of us have heard a few of these different negative beliefs is that, you'll be nothing without a man or a woman or a partner. That's something we've been told our entire lives, right? That's a goal. Get married. If you're not married, nobody loves you and you're not going to be successful, but that's not true. If you don't go to school, you'll never succeed, right? If you don't get that college degree, you don't get some kind of university, you'll be nothing. And that's also a lie. People like us don't get rich. Now, this was a really big one for me. Just growing up in poverty, I thought that was what the normal was, right? I thought it was normal to not have electricity half of the month. I thought it was normal going to bed hungry and just scraping by and having nothing compared to everybody in school. And I thought it was normal because of everything that I was told and how I was brought up. And unfortunately, this has been passed down from generation to generation. It didn't start with my mother, it started with my grandparents. And pretty much, that was a self-limiting belief that was put into my head early on as a very young child. And that's just not true. Another common paradigm that we can inherit are that we're not smart enough, we're not worthy enough. And again, these kinds of things can be told to us from our friends, our families. It could be somebody in your church. It could be a mentor, somebody that's meant to help you in a sense. But if you're told something negative and you continue to carry that with you, it will affect you for your entire life. And I have a short example of something that was said to me when I was young that really stuck with me all the way into my adulthood. So my family is from South America, but I was born and raised in the USA, so English is my first language. I could understand Spanish my entire life, but because somebody in my family told me that I sounded like a gringa, right, which means a white girl, which they were obviously trying to offend how I was speaking Spanish, but that really stuck with me. And then I never spoke it again until about 2 years ago. And it wasn't because I was ashamed of my culture. It wasn't because I didn't understand what people were saying, but it was because at some point when I was like 5 or 6 years old, somebody in my family told me that I didn't sound right. So that kind of stuck with me. And, for the longest time, I actually shorted myself without being able to speak 2 different languages. So that's just an example of how something so small, right? Some kind of comment in our lives can be told to us, and then we carry that on forever. Another comment that was made to me as a young adult was that I couldn't cook, right? I was probably trying, 15, 16, probably made one meal. Someone said, "You can't cook for shit." And then I didn't try again until about 5 years ago. But my point here is that it's really, really important to understand that everything that we have been told since birth is a set of paradigm from other people that we inherited, okay? And that can go from how we view ourselves to the people that we decide to date, right? Racism, all of that stuff, it's all taught, okay? So is all of our paradigms. So we really need to break loose of all of these preset notions and preset paradigms that our family, our friends, and everybody has, put into us as young adults. Because if we don't understand that we are who we are right now because of the things that we were told, it doesn't mean they're all true, right? I went to church for years and years and years, and I realized, that wasn't the space for me. But because that's what I was told, I thought I was a Christian. I believe in God, but I no longer think how I used to think, right? I respect all religions. I think we all pray to the same person. But that's not what I was being told at home. And I was told, if you're not Christian, you're going to hell. That's not true either. But that is just another example of a common paradigm that we can inherit, from our families and from the people that are raising us and thinking that they can actually, do good and instill stuff in us. But that's just really, really not the case. All of these stories that we have been told, everything that we have been, this is all software, it's a programming. And it's really important that we replace this programming and just decide to, believe what we believe and push ourselves forward. Now, something else I do want to share. So as I mentioned, I did grow up in a rough household. I was thrown into adulthood pretty fast. I was in and out of juvie during high school. By 15 years old, I was pregnant. I gave birth to my first beautiful daughter, Sabrina, who's here with me today. By the time I turned 18, I had a second daughter, Samantha, who's here with me today. So I had my 2 children in and out of juvie, trying to finish night school, working 2 jobs, doing the best that I could, but it still wasn't enough. And even though, I had a rough young adult life, being in and out of juvie, getting in a lot of trouble, that wasn't enough for me. So in my early 20s, I continued to live this life of just meaningless life, right? Just trying to get by, surviving, trying to do what I can to feed myself and take care of everybody around me. And I ended up landing myself in prison for 18 months. So on my 25th birthday, that was my rock bottom. And I've had a few rock bottoms in life. It wasn't the first, and I pray that, it wasn't the last either. But it was the hardest rock bottom that I ever hit. It was insane. I remember waking up, it was supposed to be my 25th birthday, right? Everybody, like, you celebrate 25 is a big number, but I was by myself. I was in maximum security prison because your girl thought leaving the halfway house for 2 weeks and taking a break was a good idea, but that's a whole nother story for another time. And I just remember thinking, like, this cannot be my life. Like, this cannot be it. I'm 25 years old. I have 2 kids at home that were being taken care of by my family. I knew that I was intelligent. I knew that I could help people. I knew that I could connect with people, but I just didn't know how. I didn't know how. I didn't have the resources. I never had the resources. Nobody ever told me, you can do this. This is what you can do. Like, let me help you out here. So that day was really a turning point for myself. I was like, you know what? I don't belong in this place. Or maybe I do belong in there, actually. It was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because no matter how many other timeouts I was given, it was just never enough. But being away from my family and my friends, having no freedom, and being able to see how bad or how unfortunate other people's lives were was extremely humbling. And again, something that I feel like I had to go through in life to really understand that my life isn't that bad. Yes, my resources were limited, but not as limited as other people. And that if I really, really wanted to be something, I have to decide to make that change. So on my 25th birthday, I had my mom send me the catalog for college. Previously, I was going to school to be a teacher. The only reason why I wanted to be a teacher was because I wanted the weekends off and I wanted the summers off. I didn't want to teach kids. I didn't like them at that level. I love my children. But I wanted the easy way. I wanted a break. I thought it'd be cool. Free weekends, free summer. Didn't work out, clearly. I caught some charges in a school zone, so that kind of went down the drain. So I'm like, what am I going to do with my life at this point, right? I can't be a teacher. I can't go work for the government. There's just so much that I can't do. So I said, you know what? The only way that I'm going to be able to excel in my life is starting my own business. Because if you're your own boss, nobody's going to background check you, right? So that was my mentality. So on my 25th birthday, I called my mom. She, sent me over the college agenda. I enrolled before I even got out, hoping that I'd get out, right? I had to see parole. They actually ended up giving me another 18 months on a bracelet, thank God. But yeah, so I ended up doing the 18 months out of a 5-year sentence. And during those 18 months, I got my stuff together. I was like, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to go for business management. I at least have to do something with my life. And that was really the turning point for me, you guys, was just being 25 years old with nothing, not having custody of my children, alone, and just contemplating, like, what the hell am I actually doing with myself? So when I came out, I decided that I was going to go to school. I got a degree in business management. But even still, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Every time they asked me in class, what kind of business do you want to do? What are you going to start? I had no idea. So I ended up graduating with a bachelor's degree in business. I continued to go to school because I didn't know what to do. And that's like another cycle, you guys, that you don't want to get into. But I was working at a bar and I was bartending to pay for college. And I actually got to having a conversation with my very first mentor. And, he was asking me pretty much like, what are you doing in here? Why are you working here? That kind of deal. And I'm like, oh, just trying to make some money. But it definitely wasn't, the ideal job for me. So I got to talking with my mentor. He ended up offering me a job to come work with him. I worked with him handling his customer service for about 3 to 4 months. And that's when I decided to start building my cleaning business. Now, he was the first person in my adult life that ever saw any kind of future in me. At least that's what I thought, right? Simple conversation with a complete stranger just had my mind going. And I'm like, wow, he really thinks I can do this. Like, why does this guy think I can run a business? And don't get me wrong, like, I've been into entrepreneurship my entire life, but a legal business, like a real business where you have to pay people and taxes and the government knows. But he did take that chance, and just because he said, I believe you can do it, figure it out, I went ahead and started my cleaning business. However, I had so much that I still had to change about myself. Like, I had an amazing opportunity. I knew it was God-given. I'm like, okay, a complete stranger right now is telling me I can do this. He's going to give me the money to do this. I do have to pay him back with a 10%, charge. But I was like, I have to make this work. So I asked him, I said, what do I have to do to like be successful? I want to be like you. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be successful. I want to be able to buy things and not have to worry about, if my debit card is going to decline or not. And the first thing he told me is that you need to change your mindset. And we talk about this a lot, but I'm like, what mindset? What mindset? I was still hanging out with my friends. I was still drinking. I was still living for the weekends because that's what you do when you have a 9 to 5. So I said, well, what should I do? And he goes, listen, there's plenty of books out there. There's plenty of audios for you to listen to. And that's exactly what I did. I went on a mind shift mission and I started to listen to audiobooks. I started to read and listen to the audiobooks while I was cleaning, right? Cleaning houses, cleaning offices. And I literally started to convince myself that I could change. And it was with the help of the repetitive audiobooks. Okay, Bob Proctor is one of my favorite authors of all time, and I'll have a QR code for you guys if you want to check out some of his books. But it's really, really important that we pour into ourselves, especially when we're starting in this journey, because, you can be given the roadmap to how to create a 6-7-figure business. But if you yourself do not believe that you can do it, it's never going to happen. It's just not. Nobody is going to come save you. No one's going to do the work for you. But you absolutely need to believe that you can do it. So this is just some of the reasons why we might feel stuck. And, the paradigm explains procrastination, low self-esteem worth, undercharging for your prices. You could feel like no matter what goal you set, your paradigm will override the effort. Your current results reflect your current paradigm. And this is a quote from Bob Proctor: you can't outperform your paradigm. If you don't believe that you can do it, you guys, it is not going to happen. And I know that it feels extremely hard at first, especially if you're somebody that hasn't come from a supportive background or have had family or friends or people that you look up to tell you to do it. It's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. Now, these are some points on how you guys can actually rewire and rethink and reprogram your mind. So number one, we're going to start off with awareness, right? You want to ask yourself, where did this belief come from? And do I really believe it or was I taught it? Right? And I've had to think about all of these over and over and over again since I was a child. I'm like, do I really like these kind of guys that I'm dating? Or was that put in my head, right? To date those kind of guys. And I'm like, do I really enjoy going to church? Do I even believe this stuff that they're teaching me? Okay, so ask yourself, where did this belief come from? If you don't think you can do something, why? Why don't you think you can do it? Who said that to you one time, maybe many, many moons ago? And do you believe it or were you taught it? 99% of the time, you guys were taught it. Number two, I want to say is repetition. We need to create new affirmations and say them morning and night over and over. This sounds bogus, right? A little bit. When I first heard this, I'm like, oh, morning affirmations, and I'm like, there's no way in how this stuff works, right? It does. It really, really does. The more that you continue to tell yourself something, the more you'll believe it. And that is true with negative and positive thoughts, okay? If you keep telling yourself you're miserable, this sucks, my life sucks, I want to end it, it's over, you're going to believe it. You're going to believe it. So we have to be very, very careful with what we choose to tell ourselves, okay? And if you continue to tell yourself that you are worthy, you can accomplish it, and you can do the work, you will get past that mental block. Number three is going to be the environment, right? This is a huge one. So yes, I had to listen to audiobooks. Yes, I had to continually tell myself that I could do it, but I definitely had to change my environment. I had to let go of every single friend that I had when I first started my cleaning business because they did not serve me, which may seem a little bit selfish, but it's true, right? They were good for drinking, they were good for drugging, they were good for looking for guys and, playing dress up. But that's not what I had in mind. That was not my goal. So I had to get rid of all my friends. I had to stop a lot of things, right? I had to stop drinking. I had to stop smoking. I had to get around a different group of people. Right. And honestly, this third one right here is what made me feel the most aligned with what I was doing. So I convinced myself I could do it, but it wasn't until I started to come to events like this, right, where I could be with other entrepreneurs, people that inspire me, people that I want to be like, that I started to believe it even more, right? And I definitely need to say, thank you, AJ, so much, because number one, for creating this environment, Clean Biz Network, for all of us. We have a beautiful, safe space. And thank you so much for, everything that you do on your YouTube channel, because if it wasn't for AJ's YouTube channel, and I know that a lot of us can speak to this, I definitely wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be coaching, or if I did, it would probably be 7 or 8 months later. But he helped me so much with everything that I wanted to accomplish. And never in a million years would I ever think that people were so open to sharing information that would want you to be successful. So environment is a huge one. This is a great example. Make sure you guys are networking with one another. Exchange cards with one another, get phone numbers, because honestly, my friends now in 2025, they all own cleaning businesses. Every single one of my friends owns a cleaning business or owns a business. And just being around other entrepreneurs and just hearing how, we all go through the same struggles. We all go through the same struggles on every single level, but also just getting to see people, right? Knowing that you can do it, somebody that looks like you, somebody that comes from your background, somebody that you can relate to. It's really, really, really important. The first 2 years in my cleaning business, I might have went to every single cleaning conference under the sun. And it was one of the best investments that I have ever made in my life, because now I do have a community. I have Clean Biz Network. We have a huge Facebook group in there. We have, so many online chats and things going on, but now I feel like I found my people and I have my support system. So it's extremely important, you guys, that, you change your environment. And I understand that sometimes that can be difficult, but it definitely does have to be done. Number 4 is visualization. This is a really big one for me also. So you need to be able to see yourself living the life that you want in absolute full detail. I was gonna start cursing. Full fucking detail, okay? You need to literally think this out, you guys, because, and again, this sounds crazy. It sounds like witchcraft or something, right? But this works, and people do it all the time. You need to visualize yourself. So where do you see yourself in life? What kind of car do you see yourself driving? What kind of neighborhood do you see yourself, living in? What kind of food do you see yourself eating? What goals do you see yourself achieving and helping your family complete? I actually take this number 4 so serious to the point where I currently live in Staten Island, New York. I want to live in Dumbo, New York. Dumbo is probably one of the most expensive neighborhoods to live, I think probably in the country, but I'm gonna get my condo there. I am. I'm gonna get my condo there. And I literally will go to Dumbo maybe twice a month, and I'll stroll the park, and I'll look at my future apartment, look at the future coffee shops that I'll be drinking out of, looking at the Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge. I take myself on nice dinners over there, just visualizing my future life, and being grateful that I could even pick up the bill and I don't have to have somebody come take me on a date. But this is extremely important, you guys. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. And that is another powerful quote from Bob Proctor that I firmly believe in. But it's very, very true. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. We need to see ourselves, our future selves. What do we look like? What do we want out of life? And then number 5, there's action. Do what your old self would have avoided. Confidence is built through action, not waiting. This is really important because a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we get stuck in this analysis paralysis, right? Oh, I don't have everything together yet. Oh, maybe I need another certificate. Oh, no, I need another better vacuum. I can't go after that customer. Not true. Action. Take action every single day and avoid doing what your old self would do. Okay, I never would have imagined speaking on a stage. I would have never imagined starting a YouTube channel. I hated my voice when I started my videos. Okay, I never thought I'd speak Spanish again because somebody ruined it for me when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And here I am, 38 years old, learning how to speak Spanish and doing it the best that I can. But action is very, very important. So here's my final message to you guys. You guys are the author of your lives now. It is completely up to you where you take your life, your business, and I promise you that you guys can put anything that you put your mind to. We just really need to change the hardwired way that we have been taught to think, that we're not deserving, that we're not enough, that we're not smart enough, that we have some type of background, or maybe, we all go through hardship, but we all deserve to be successful. And it's 110%, achievable. You didn't choose the paradigm that you were born into, but you can choose the one that you leave behind. So rewrite your story starting today. And again, as I mentioned, one of my favorite quotes from Bob Proctor is, you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.